Bonsoir. Happy Monday. How is everybody doing? Hope your week's getting off to a good start. Mine is actually winding down. I'm so excited. I had my Friday tonight at work, so I have the next 3 days off ahead of me. And I'm so excited about it. I was just so grateful for one of those quiet nights where we're not like insane, but like you still make really good money. And that's how it was. We were like super busy all weekend. So we were pretty ragged by tonight. And then we were thinking that our last reservation was coming in at 8 and we would get out like super early. And then like there was like all of these like large parties that came in at the end of the night, like last minute, which is great for money. But then like you're like, I thought I wasn't gonna have to tell anybody else about our local produce. Oh, but it's over now, and I am so excited to be free as a bird for the next couple of days. Hoping to get a waterfall hike in over this next couple of days too. I am sorely disappointed that I haven't gotten, more than one in this summer already. So hopefully I can make that happen. But we are here to talk about the card that I pulled this morning for us on Instagram. I'm at Liz Taylor Magick there, Liz_Taylor_Magick with a CK. And also Light Love Magic is on Instagram. And I do a post for us on Monday, Wednesday, Friday in regards to our cards that we talk about here later in the evening. And sometimes I talk about different things in the morning and at night. But so I thought it was super interesting because like for the past few weeks, like most of the summer, I've been feeling this forest card. It just kept coming up to me, especially recently. And I kept remembered thinking, I did a whole series of videos, like one for each month. It was a predictions for 2022. So it was like for each month I went and did like readings for each month. And that was back in January. And so the playlist has been up all year. And sometimes I remember to go back and watch at the beginning of the month. And I haven't, but I remembered that forest was a big theme for summer, and I couldn't remember which months it kept coming up in, but I kept thinking about this card recently, and this deck, like I was going to pull some tarot cards from the Modern Witch Tarot and just maybe pull an accompaniment card out of like an oracle deck, but this archetype, the wild and unknown archetype, was like, it's just us, just pull out of us, this is, like don't do anything else. So pull one card today, and it was forest. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm focusing in on this theme. And it was so interesting because I've really been feeling it lately, and I've been spending as much time as I can in the forest all summer. But generally speaking, this year it was always going to feel like this sort of like long slog, and like kind of like when you're walking through the forest, when you're like, I think I'm going in the right direction. Like I just keep moving forward, and like sometimes there is a path there, but you're not like quite sure where the path is going. And then sometimes it's like hard to make out the path because it's grown back over and whatnot. And so, for the first several months of this year, we were sort of like, I don't know, concluding the last year, and then in like this like dormancy, this like spiritual energetic hibernation, just trying to like close out themes from the past, not just last year, but like this next cycle that we have been entering into this year. Like 2022 to me was like a bridge year. It was like a channel year that ended the first half of our life. Like our lives up until now, like we're like part one in a franchise of movies, right? And this new cycle is more than just a next chapter of a book, right? It's like a whole nother movie, or it's like a whole nother book in and of itself with the same characters, right? It's like this continuation. So it took a while. We were in these stages and these veils of entry, these like okay, we're coming out of this the past of our lives, our old selves, and we had like this chunk of time for a couple of months that was like I don't know, it was like the computer was rebooting. We were like offloading a whole lot out of our hard drive, right? And we were like updating our operating system, you know, we're getting a lot of downloads. And there was like a whole new us ready to be like released out into the world. And this new us is really so much more clear and awakened and aware and intentional, you know? And so we had to sift through and go through the old self and be like, okay, what do I want to bring with me? What is core authenticity for me? And what is always me that I'm bringing forward? What are the things that aren't true for me anymore? What do I not believe anymore? What do I not care for anymore? What's not really serving me? What am I like finished with and moving on from? What's complete for me? What can I leave in the past and resolve and finish so that I can step forward? And we're stepping forward and we're actually like creating a new life. It's almost like the life that we have been leading up until this point has been our fated life. And this is like everyone. This isn't just like a few people here and there. I feel like this is like worldwide, and depending on how conscious people are and how plugged in they are and how much they've already been aware of these things and how much they've already been working on it in their lives, like they might be in varying stages. But I really think that this is the kind of energy that's affecting everyone like this. So it's like we're building this whole new life that's not our fate that we were dealt to us, but it is like we've taken a moment to evaluate and assess, and we are getting a chance to actually use our free will and create an intentional life and an intentional new self and an intentional new way of living and experiencing the world, and choosing our destiny rather than being victims of our fate. So we are creating our own reality as we move forward, and we are the captains of our destiny, and we are actually aligning with source, with higher power to lead us there, right? To kind of like come into union with like our physical self and our higher self, so we can bring that greater potential self into like our daily embodiment, right? And this is not something that is like a step-by-step thing we can just follow. This is something that we really have to take our time with, and we don't know if we're going in the right direction because we're choosing the direction with each step and carving out that path for ourselves. And no one else can tell us what to do or how to do it because they're carving out their new path for themselves, right? So we have been invited to go into the forest, and we were told, you know, at the beginning of the year that the summer months were going to feel very much like the forest. Like we have been on this journey. Now we're completely closed in and surrounded with the thicket, and we really can't see that far ahead, and it's too late to go back, and we're in the middle of this, and it's like, you know, in a way it makes us feel anxious, panicky, impatient, claustrophobic, surrounded, completely uncertain, right? But that's what the forest is there for. It's there to slow you down and force you to take your time and pay attention to what you're doing and stay very present and be intentional in your choice and pay attention to where you are and where you're going. The forest is also one of those grand adventures that is going to present different characters. Think about every great story where a character wandered into a forest or into, you know, the fire swamp, you know, from like Princess Bride, and, you know, these unknown territories where you can't see very far ahead of you, right? There's always these characters that come along, and it's always very difficult and very subtle and nuanced to figure out who's friend, who's foe, who's a helper, who's a trickster. And when the lessons like this get more and more subtle, it's because our consciousness has been elevated and expanded. You know, when we have really obvious tests that are like kind of like right on the nose, it's like we're not necessarily like very mature in that theme of consciousness yet, or maybe not in that moment. But as we become more aware and wiser and more awakened and have a stronger vessel, or we have stronger faith, and we have stronger self-worth and stronger certainty, the tests get more subtle and they get harder and more difficult. Remember, as you up level, so does your opponent, right? So sometimes that up leveling isn't just that it's going to be more chaotic, harder, louder, more explosions. Sometimes it's more difficult because it's so nuanced and like a fine line between this and that, right? So take your time, be patient. You're supposed to be in the uncertainty right now. So don't feel like that's a negative reflection on you, or, don't feel inadequate or behind, or like you're not keeping up or anything like that. That's how the forest is. That's part of the initiative function of the forest, is to feel terrified, afraid, uncertain, confused, and like have not a clear point to aim at, right? It's like the divine fog that we're given sometimes, and it's like we have to learn how to adapt to situations where we fine-tune our intuition and we fine-tune our awareness of who we are and what is our values, what do we value, So yeah, and it does feel like we just keep going, and there's more forest, and you're like, are we making any progress? Because it's hard to tell, because you can't tell how far you've been and how far you still have to go, or if you're even in the right place or going in the right direction. But I feel like the message here is that yes, you are in the right place. This is all how it's supposed to be. Everything is happening just as it should right now, at the pace that it should, and the timing that it should, and the way that it should. So just keep going slowly, intentionally. Think about things as you make your decisions, right? What do I value? What do I no longer value? Like, what do I really want? Like, I don't need permission or validation from anyone. Like, I don't need anyone to approve of me or give me permission. What do I want? What is true to me, right? Free yourself to be yourself. Let go, surrender, just be the truest you, right? So I do want to, there was one more, I feel like there was something else I wanted to say. But yeah, just know that it's just going to take more time to get through, right? So don't feel like you're behind. Don't feel like you're lost. Don't feel like you should be certain when you're not. Like, it's supposed to be scary and confusing right now. We are making progress. It just we just can't see it yet. We're too in it. We're too close in it to like step back and see the real perspective of like how much we've come, how far we've come, how much we've, done, and how much difference it's going to make when we get a little further ahead. It's just one of those things where it feels like nothing's happening. It's like when you plant seeds and it's like nothing is growing. The seeds were bad. Like, nothing's gonna sprout. And then suddenly one day it's like everything's like suddenly, shot up, and there's like green everywhere. So don't lose heart. Don't get too tired, but just know that this is a very sacred moment, that, it does feel like a slog, but this is the year that we lay the foundations, and we prepare ourselves, and we prepare and like create structures that we find that are going to work, right? All year we've been like looking at our systems and our structures and our routines and seeing, okay, what works, what doesn't, how is this lending itself to this new me, to this new life, this new experience, these new goals, right? So we're cultivating all of these things, and we're setting all these systems in place, because next year is going to be a big implementing year, right? We're going to start building on those foundations and those like skeleton structures, right? And it's going to start, like, our progress is going to start showing a lot more, right? It's just that we had to do all of this like hard labor this year of just laying the turf down and preparing everything and getting ourselves ready for it. But next year things are going to you're going to improve very quickly. The growth is going to be more evident, and it's going to be quicker, right? Things are going to move faster. So don't worry. Enjoy the slow pace while you have it, right? Because things can change overnight, and before you know it, you're going to be like, oh, I thought I had a little bit more time than this, right? So enjoy where you're at, embrace the moment, don't resist it, and just be certain that you are just where you're supposed to be, that everything is perfect, that you're on track, and just keep doing what you're doing, right? Don't let that anxiety set in or that panic. I want to read Forest from the book. The forest, the woods, the thicket, the jungle. Consider for a moment your earliest memory of the forest. It's likely it included all the mythic dynamics of this archetypal space. A little fear, a little enchantment, perhaps losing your way, perhaps discovering a secret and mystical treasure. Such is the magic of the forest. It requires first that you enter it, and then that you get lost within it. You may think there is a path to lead you straight through, but soon enough you'll be on what is known as the pathless path. There are tricksters here, dense foliage and entanglement, but equally present are glimmers of fairy light and friends among the trees. You're on an adventure now, and there's no turning back. So embrace the dim light and the moving shadows. Whether literal or imaginal, brave the forest and get lost getting found. When light, magic abounds, childlike, wonder, adventure. When dark, concealment, density, savagery. Go deeper. The opening 3 lines of Dante's Inferno. I had Dante's Inferno, that trilogy, somewhere. I don't know where it is. I would have pulled it aside to read those lines. The hunter, the maiden, and the crone. Hold on. The hunter, the maiden, the crone, and the shaman make regular appearances in the forest. Don't be surprised if these cards come up together. Let the narrative reveal itself. Interesting. I love that. The hunter's in the woods hunting. The maiden is always the one that goes wandering into the woods and is preyed upon, like all the princesses, right? And, the heroines and what am I thinking of? Oh, the Little Red Riding Hood. Like, it's always like a young woman, like going into the woods and like, so vulnerable, such a novice. And then the crone, is the one that's always like living in the woods in peace, like the hermit in that, in their witch's hut or whatever. And the shaman is there usually on a spiritual journey, probably doing their own work, right? Connecting with the trees. The Kabbalists of old would go out to the trees to, unburden themselves, to basically connect with the trees, let go of their stress, pray out loud, get everything off their chest, and like recharge in the forest, like taking tree baths. Okay, and then if you get out of the forest without feeling lost, you were only in a little grove of trees. The great archetypal forest requires that we spend at least one night frightened for our life. Ooh. All right, you guys, forest. That'll probably be kind of an ongoing theme for the week. And I'm guessing that this is going to be how it feels kind of for the rest of the summer. But I feel like by fall, we will have kind of a different vibe, a different mood. All right, you guys, I hope you have a good night tonight and a good day tomorrow. I'll see you then. I don't know if I'm going to get this video made any earlier than usual since I'm off work. I've got a bunch of stuff I want to do tomorrow, but we'll see. You never know. All right, y'all. Ciao.